Hello, welcome to the Pleasure Academy. Today we'll explore an extraordinary truth. Sometimes love speaks without words. Her silence isn't emptiness, it's a language of its own. In every pause, glance, and breath, she may be telling you everything. Segment 1, the mystery of silence. Silence is often misunderstood. To some, it feels awkward or even cold. But in the realm of love, silence can be as expressive as poetry. Imagine two people sitting together without speaking, yet feeling closer than ever. That's the power of unspoken connection. In many cultures, silence is not a gap but a bridge, allowing emotions to flow without the clutter of words. Her quiet moments might be her way of holding space for you, listening deeply, or offering comfort. Unfortunately, many rush to fill silence with noise, fearing discomfort. But when we pause, we can sense what lies beneath: affection, respect, or vulnerability. Learning to read her silence isn't about solving a puzzle. It's about tuning into a frequency most people ignore. Love doesn't always shout. It often whispers, and sometimes it says nothing at all. Segment 2, the psychology of nonverbal love. Psychologists know that most of human communication is nonverbal. Research suggests up to 93% of emotional meaning comes from tone, facial expressions, gestures, and yes, silence. When she chooses not to speak, she's still communicating. Her body might lean toward you in comfort. Her breathing may sync with yours. Her eyes might soften in moments when she feels close. In relationships, nonverbal cues can build trust faster than words. Silence allows emotions to settle, making space for understanding. It's the absence of verbal noise that sharpens our ability to notice subtler signals. Many people confuse quietness with disinterest, but the truth is, stillness can be a deep form of intimacy. It's like music. The rests between the notes give the melody meaning. Her silence could be telling you, "I'm here. I'm safe with you. I don't need to speak to feel close." Segment 3, microexpressions and hidden emotions. Silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. It's when microexpressions reveal the most. These tiny, fleeting facial changes often last less than half a second, but they can speak volumes. A subtle smile might hint at affection. A quick glance away could mean shyness. A softening of the jaw might signal comfort in your presence. Microexpressions are honest. They're hard to fake, and they bypass verbal filters. When she's silent, these cues often become more visible because your attention isn't distracted by her words. Trained observers, like psychologists or negotiators, use silence to study these expressions and uncover genuine feelings. The next time she's quiet, notice her eyes, the corners of her lips, the way her shoulders sit. You may find that her love isn't in grand gestures or declarations. It's in the millisecond moments you only catch when you truly pay attention. Segment 4, the comfort of shared quiet. One of the most profound signs of connection is the ability to share silence without discomfort. Think of two old friends sitting by a fire, not speaking, yet perfectly content. In romantic relationships, this comfort in quiet moments signals deep trust. When she doesn't feel the need to fill space with words, it may mean she feels safe, seen, and accepted. Silence here isn't absence, it's presence without pressure. In psychology, this is called companionable silence, and it's a mark of emotional maturity. Instead of measuring love by constant conversation, consider measuring it by the depth of peace you share in stillness. If she can be silent with you and you still feel warmth, you've tapped into a rare kind of intimacy, one where words aren't the primary proof of love. Segment 5, cultural differences in silent communication. Silence doesn't carry the same meaning everywhere. In Western cultures, it's often associated with awkwardness or tension. In many Asian cultures, silence is a sign of respect, thoughtfulness, and emotional depth. In Finland, long pauses in conversation are considered natural. In Japan, hareji refers to silent understanding, communicating heart to heart without words. If the woman you care about comes from a background where silence is valued, her quietness may be an expression of love rather than detachment. Misinterpreting this can cause unnecessary conflict. Educationally, understanding cultural context is crucial. Silence in one setting might mean, "I'm upset," while in another it says, "I trust you." By learning how her background shapes her communication style, you can appreciate her silences as intentional expressions of care and connection rather than gaps in your relationship. Segment 6, the role of eye contact in silent affection. In silence, the eyes become the main storytellers. Sustained, soft eye contact can release oxytocin, the bonding hormone, making you feel closer without a word spoken. When she looks at you in quiet moments, her gaze may carry reassurance, tenderness, or unspoken gratitude. Unlike quick glances, this kind of eye contact is steady but gentle, inviting connection without force. In romantic psychology, eyes are often referred to as windows to the soul because they can reveal emotions we can't or won't say aloud. If she holds your gaze and smiles slightly, it could be her way of saying, "I'm here with you fully." Learning to meet and hold her eyes in those moments will help you hear her silent expressions of love more clearly than any verbal confession could. Segment 7. When silence means safety. Sometimes silence is a sanctuary. In a world full of constant notifications, chatter, and noise, being with someone who allows you to rest in stillness is a gift. Her quiet might be saying, "With you, I can exhale." Psychologists note that couples who can coexist peacefully without constant verbal interaction often have stronger long-term bonds. This safety isn't about ignoring each other, it's about knowing you don't have to perform to be valued. If she can be silent with you, she trusts that you'll still see her, still choose her, still feel close to her without constant validation. Silence becomes the emotional equivalent of a warm blanket, a space where she doesn't need to prove her worth or demand yours. That's love expressed in the gentlest way possible. Segment 8. The dangers of misreading silence. While silence can be loving, it can also signal disconnection, hurt, or withdrawal. The challenge is telling the difference. If her quiet comes with closed-off body language, crossed arms, averted eyes, increased physical distance, it may mean something is wrong. Educationally, this is where emotional literacy becomes essential. You must consider the context. Is this silence after a warm embrace or after an argument? Is her face relaxed or tense? By learning to read these layers, you can avoid false assumptions. Assuming all silence is loving is as dangerous as assuming it's all negative. In truth, it's the combination of silence plus emotional cues that reveals her intent. Awareness is key, not to judge but to understand. The more attuned you become, the less likely you are to miss the real message she's sending. Segment 9. Learning to listen beyond words. Listening isn't just about hearing sounds, it's about receiving all forms of communication, including the unspoken. When she's silent, you can listen with your eyes, your awareness, and your intuition. Notice her breathing, her posture, her presence. Let the quiet draw you closer rather than push you away. Practicing this kind of deep listening can transform your relationship. It teaches patience, empathy, and mindfulness. In many cases, people report feeling more understood when their partner simply stays present in silence than when they receive a long verbal response. It's not about filling the air, it's about filling the connection. When you stop fearing the absence of words, you begin to discover that love has 1,000 ways of speaking, and silence is one of its most eloquent voices. Segment 10. Silence as emotional processing. Not all silences are instant messages. Sometimes they're pauses for thought. Many people, especially those with introspective personalities, need quiet to process emotions. When she's silent after an important moment, it doesn't always mean she's disengaged. She may be digesting feelings. In psychology, this is known as reflective processing, where the mind organizes thoughts before verbalizing them. If you rush to fill this space, you might interrupt her emotional clarity. Instead, patience allows her to come back with deeper, more heartfelt words later. Her silence may be her way of ensuring that when she speaks, it's intentional and authentic. By recognizing this, you shift from pressuring her for instant responses to respecting her need for inner reflection. Love sometimes looks like waiting, not to get an answer but to give space for one to form naturally. Segment 11. The silence between arguments. Silence during conflict is one of the most misunderstood forms of communication. It can be a defensive withdrawal, or it can be a cooling off period to prevent hurtful words. Emotionally intelligent couples know the difference. If she goes quiet mid-disagreement but remains physically present, listening, breathing steadily, it may be her way of keeping the argument safe. This kind of silence gives emotions time to settle so conversations can continue without escalation. In relationship counseling, therapists often encourage pause moments to protect emotional bonds. If you interpret her quiet as avoidance and push harder, you risk forcing words she doesn't mean. Instead, use these silences to self-reflect, regulate your own tone, and prepare for reconnection. Not all pauses are endings. Sometimes they're the doorway back to understanding. Segment 12. How introverts express love in silence. Introverts often communicate affection in ways that extroverts might miss, especially through silence. For them, quiet is not absence, it's comfort. Sitting together reading, walking without chatter, or simply sharing a meal in peace can be an introvert's love language. Psychologically, introverts recharge in low-stimulation environments, so a partner who honors their need for stillness can make them feel deeply loved. If she's introverted, her silence might be her way of saying, "I trust you enough to be myself." Forcing constant conversation can feel draining, even when she enjoys your company. Learning to join her in these calm spaces without feeling neglected is key. In doing so, you'll discover that her love is not in the quantity of words spoken, but in the quality of presence shared. Segment 13, Silent Support in Difficult Times. In moments of grief, stress, or uncertainty, words can feel inadequate. Sometimes, the most powerful support you can offer is your presence. Her silence in these times may not be distance, it may be solidarity. Psychologists call this holding space, where one person offers calm, attentive presence without trying to fix the other's emotions. If she sits quietly with you, touches your hand, or simply stays near, it's her way of saying, "I'm with you in this." Trying to fill that silence with solutions can unintentionally minimize the depth of the moment. Instead, join her in it. Let the quiet speak the care neither of you can put into words. In love, silence is often the strongest reassurance that you're not alone. Segment 14, The Subtle Signals Hidden in Stillness. Stillness is not emptiness, it's a canvas for subtle signals. When she's quiet, every small action gains meaning. The way she leans toward you, the softness in her smile, the slow rhythm of her breathing. In behavioral psychology, these cues are called low-intensity signals, and they often carry more emotional truth than grand gestures. People tend to overlook them because they're not as dramatic as verbal declarations or physical displays. Yet for those who notice, they're profoundly telling. Her stillness could be a moment of admiration, gratitude, or reassurance. If you learn to treat quiet moments as opportunities for deeper observation, you'll start noticing patterns, tiny consistencies that reveal the depth of her affection. Love isn't always a storm. Sometimes it's the still air before dawn. Segment 15, Silence as Respect for Boundaries. Silence can be an act of respect. In healthy relationships, partners know when to give each other space. If she steps back without words during your intense focus or private moments, it might mean she values your boundaries. Respectful silence is a sign of emotional intelligence. It says, "I trust you to have your space and I'll be here when you're ready." This is different from emotional withdrawal, which carries tension. Respectful silence feels calm and steady, not cold. Couples who recognize and honor these unspoken boundaries tend to build stronger trust. The ability to be apart without fear or insecurity is just as important as closeness. When her silence gives you breathing room, it's not neglect. It's a quiet form of love that says she believes in your autonomy. Segment 16, The Role of Silence in Long-Term Relationships. Over time, couples often shift from passionate intensity to a calmer, deeper rhythm. In this stage, silence becomes a familiar friend rather than a stranger. You might notice more unspoken understanding and fewer explanations. This isn't fading love, it's matured love. Psychologists describe this as secure attachment, where partners feel so confident in the relationship that constant verbal affirmation becomes unnecessary. Her silence here isn't disinterest, it's the natural evolution of trust. When you can sit together doing nothing and still feel connected, you've reached a level of intimacy many never find. Learning to appreciate these quiet phases prevents you from mistaking peace for boredom. In long-term love, silence is often the clearest proof of a bond that no longer needs to prove itself every moment. Segment 17, Reading the Emotional Climate. To understand her silence, you must read the emotional climate of the moment. Is it a warm, content silence or a tense, closed-off one? Emotional climate is shaped by tone, body language, and recent shared experiences. If you've just shared a meaningful moment, like watching a sunset or laughing together, her quiet is likely filled with contentment. But if there's visible tension or recent disagreement, it might carry different meaning. This awareness comes from emotional intelligence, paying attention to context, not just the absence of words. Like a weather forecast, the emotional climate predicts what her silence means. The more you practice noticing these subtleties, the better you'll understand her unspoken messages without jumping to conclusions. Segment 18, The Shared Language of Quiet Rituals. Couples often develop small, wordless rituals that speak of love. A morning coffee together, a hand squeeze before bed, or a shared glance across a crowded room. These rituals are the silent threads that weave intimacy over time. They may not involve conversation, but they're rich in meaning. Psychologists call this relational scripting, where repeated behaviors become emotional anchors. If she participates in these quiet rituals with you, it's a sign she values the shared rhythm of your relationship. Breaking these patterns can feel unsettling, while maintaining them builds trust. Her silence in these moments isn't empty, it's part of a language only the two of you share. A dialect of love made from small, consistent acts that speak far louder than words. Segment 19. Silence during moments of awe. Sometimes, love shows itself when both people are speechless. Not because they have nothing to say, but because words would only diminish the beauty of the moment. Standing under a night sky, watching a child sleep, or witnessing a breathtaking view together can inspire a shared, reverent silence. Neuroscience shows that awe slows our perception of time and deepens emotional bonds. When she's quiet in these moments, it's not distance, it's devotion. She's letting the experience speak for itself, trusting you to feel it alongside her. In love, these silences become treasured memories, where hearts align without uttering a single sound. Segment 20. Healing through quiet connection. Silence can be restorative. After stress or emotional strain, simply sitting together in peace can calm the nervous system and lower stress hormones. Psychologists refer to this as co-regulation, where one person's calm presence helps stabilize the other's emotions. If she offers you quiet companionship after a hard day, she's giving you more than company, she's giving you a safe harbor. This healing silence isn't about ignoring pain. It's about letting emotional balance return naturally. Words have their place in problem solving, but love often begins its repair in stillness. By cherishing these quiet, restorative moments, you create a foundation that can weather storms far better than constant talk ever could. Segment 21. When silence becomes your shared strength. Over time, couples who embrace silence discover it becomes one of their greatest strengths. They can read each other's moods with a glance, feel reassured without constant dialogue, and navigate life's ups and downs with quiet confidence. This kind of bond can't be forced. It grows from years of mindful attention, patience, and trust. Her silence is no longer mysterious. It's a shared language that belongs only to you both. It doesn't replace words, it enriches them, giving deeper meaning to the times you do speak. In the end, the strongest relationships are those that can speak fluently in both conversation and quiet. Conclusion. Love is not only found in declarations, promises, and poetic speeches. It often lives in the pauses between sentences, the gentle stillness of an embrace, and the quiet rituals shared over time. Her silence might be a sanctuary, a gesture of trust, or an invitation to simply be. By learning to read the emotional climate, notice microexpressions, and honor cultural nuances, you'll find that silence is not absence. It's presence in its purest form. The next time she says nothing, listen closely. You might hear the most profound message she's ever sent. I'm here, I love you, without needing to speak. Thank you for joining us at the Pleasure Academy. Remember, love isn't always spoken, it's often felt. Cherish the silences, and you'll discover a world of meaning hidden in the quiet. Until next time, keep listening beyond words.